Tuning into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Miriam Gonzalez, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Yeah, hey there, everyone. To the window, to the wall.
To the wall.
Welcome, everyone, to AFTERBUZZ TV. I am Miriam Gonzalez, and we are here to do another after show for Girls, Season 4, Episode 2, the title being Triggering. Joining me this evening is my fabulous panel, girls panel. To my left is the one and only fabulous
Spicy Mari sizzling up in here. And then we have with us,
hi guys, Candice Buenrostro over here.
And of course, we are always excited to bring back the one, the only
Thomas Piland. I'm not as sweet as Candy, but I'll do it right. That's,
You know, we have to have
giving us the male perspective, Thomas.
Exactly, we have to have our token guy, so that way, you know, a male perspective when it comes to girls is always good, especially when there's a lot of craziness that happens. And tonight in this episode, we finally, she's in Iowa. Finally, she's in Iowa, and she is starting her writing program, her graduate school writing program. And it's definitely different, but exciting. We see her, you know, starting out, which, by the way, how cheap is it to live in Iowa?
So the first place she saw was $250 a month, I believe. And in Los Angeles, that place, if you're lucky, would be $9 in a bad part of town.
Right.
And then she bought a house or rented a house for $800. And then we were debating over that, if it was the actual flat or if it was the house. And
right.
It turns out it was the house.
We thought it was maybe even just a room. We were like, how is she getting all this, you know, area for so cheap? I didn't realize Iowa was so affordable.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anything outside of a big city like, you know, New York, Miami, Los Angeles, San Francisco, outside of California, it's gonna be huge. I mean, you can get
is there in the middle.
You know, I mean, you can go to Boise, Idaho, Iowa.
Red States. No, I'm joking.
But New York is even more expensive to live than California. So she, you know, would even be saving some money coming here and moving here. Because New York is like twice as expensive.
You'd be living in a closet. Yeah, in New York.
Pretty much. I've seen it. Their apartments look like closets.
For $250, you'd be living in like upstate New York in someone else's closet.
You know what I heard too is there's apartments in New York, and Miriam, you grew up in New York briefly, I know, and apparently there's apartments that they actually have the toilet in the bedroom. This is like old school Manhattan apartments. I don't know if you've ever heard of this or seen this, but they're actually really expensive apartments. They're in, I guess, lower Manhattan or something like that.
I mean, I've been in a hotel where it felt like the toilet was in, you know, the room.
Super bizarre. One of my bosses was telling me how there was a commode in her, and I'm like, "You're kidding?" She goes, "No," and I'm like, "That's disgusting."
Hi, honey. Good morning. Sorry, I'm about to drop a deuce.
So it's a big change.
Please close your eyes.
Big change for Hannah having moved from New York to Iowa, because we see her trying to convince also Marnie to move out that way.
I mean, when you see. First of all, she's living a healthier life. She's having grapes as a snack now. She feels, you know, at one with her body and her surroundings. You know, she's a little bit more at peace. I mean, when you're in Iowa, it's a lot quieter. We see her riding a bike versus, you know, hopping in cabs or having to, you know, get in a car. So it's different. It's definitely, you know, she's acclimating and she's doing what she's passionate about. Although, you know, when we see her inside of her fiction writing class, she doesn't know how to exactly write, you know, outside of the box, so to speak.
Well, outside of her personal experience, because it was supposed to be a fiction writer's workshop, and she's writing about still herself. She's still the same self-involved Hannah. You took her out of New York, put her in Iowa. She's still the same person and she couldn't accept any of the constructive criticism that any of her classmates were giving her.
I love that she couldn't stay quiet. She was like, no. This is what I think.
Well, she was
what,
being
what
defensive.
I did. Yeah.
She was being extremely defensive. So how can you learn if you're constantly defending your opinion when other people are trying to give you information that would possibly help her? Yeah, exactly.
But did you like the disclaimer she gave before she read it out loud and said, I'm free to all of your comments, share exactly what you're thinking. I want you to be open and be able to express. And then just like you said, she just shot every single thing down and the teacher had to shush her.
Yeah, and it was not, that shushing was not working. The teacher was just like, Hannah, wait your turn. And it was just not working. Hannah was her same old self-involved, and was cutting people off too, which is really rude when someone's in between their thoughts. I mean, we have to juggle here at AfterBuzz, even being host, but she's in a platform where it's a learning environment, and she's supposed to be hearing the opinions of others in order to expand on her writing, and she couldn't even do that for 1 minute.
Well, I think too, the content that she's writing about, you have to also remember she's coming from a place like New York where she can write and about stuff like that. She's talking about her sexual experiences, and these people in Iowa may not exactly have these type of experiences. She's talking about a thumbprint and the thumb being pushed in, and she's going black and blue, and he punched her in the collarbone. I mean, they're like, the one girl was like, was it not Logan, but the girl with the bob.
Oh, the brunette.
The brunette
I didn't catch
girl.
her name.
I didn't catch her name either.
No.
But she's like, I'm struggling, on how to critique this piece.
Yeah.
She's struggling on how to critique this piece because it's very dark. It's very Hannah. It's very Hannah and Adam. And, they call her out on the fact that, it's very her. It's about a girl named Anna who has tattoos all over her body and
has to eat every 2 hours or she passes out.
As she's shoving nuts in her mouth. Not to mean it like that, but she's picking out while she's sitting in the class. So it's very obvious that this is not a fiction story. But the teacher says to her, addresses the class and says, we're going to address this no matter what. That every piece that comes in here is a fiction story, whether it's not. But
did you get a sense of growth that her character has gone through? I got a sense of it just watching this episode, that she's growing. She's still very immature, as Mari said, but she's growing as a person in her character, something that I picked up from the very beginning.
Where do you see the growth?
I see the growth not in class, obviously, because she has a hard time with that. But just when she was apartment hunting, there was a couple of times, like when she was walking around and Lady was showing her a couple of places, that she took a step back, and ultimately she did stretch her budget, but she was trying to be conscious, is what I felt when she was shopping. In the past, I don't feel we ever necessarily saw her make these big purchases or things like that.
But I think, so what money is she using in order to pay for her apartment? Are her parents helping her?
No, she's off, remember? Because when the guy scolded her at the bookstore, she's apparently off of her parents' money because she's like, Mommy and Daddy don't pay for me, I'm off the teat. But
I feel like she was just saying that because I don't think that Hannah really has enough credit to get an Amex card. And so what it led me to believe, because prior to her going to Iowa, her parents said, anything that you need, we will help you in this process. So I feel like she is still reaping the benefits of being, the only child and having her parents take care of her. And I think when her classmates reprimanded her as being privileged, I think that's when she was being defensive. So in her interaction with the guy at the counter at the register when she was paying for her stuff, I think she was trying to vocalize, I'm doing this on my own, but really she's not. I think that was just a beard. Like her own personal guilt from having been reprimanded by her classmates.
That's a good argument.
That's my perception.
No, I think you're right about that. I think that she definitely was trying to prove a point, because here she is. She's in grad school. She's not an undergrad.
Right.
And so she's like, hey, I can take care of myself. I mean, we see that when they're at the party, she's like, I'm 25, I have more experience. I think she's trying to pull that whole thing.
I feel like if Hannah was paying for her place herself, the $250, we would have stopped there. When it's your own money, you don't just spend frivolously like that. She doesn't need an entire house to herself. I think it's still her parents' money. That's why she bought an $800 home as opposed to this $250 apartment that she could be renting out and save that money and pocket it. But when it's not yours, you're all over the place. You're like, ball out, okay?
I retract my statement. I think that I would say I think she's becoming more rational. There you go. She's getting there. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I 100% agree with you. I think her parents, in a sense, I think they wanted her out of New York and in a different environment.
Right.
So they would have.
They want her away from Adam and the
to,
drama that her friends come with.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Give her a little Amex. Here you go. Go to Iowa.
Speaking of drama, what about that girl that told her not to chain her bike to the fence
I
or
think
the
she
bike?
stole the bike.
That's what I'm thinking. She stole it,
the bike?
and then she rats her out in class. But do we want to talk about her character? Remember, you and I were discussing.
Yeah. So we were trying to decide. She looked very masculine. We were trying to decide if she was transvestite because she had very masculine features. We were not sure because we can't really tell. She could just have very strong bone structure. But this was one of the first.
I heard the word shim thrown around.
Yeah, you know.
PC.
Yeah, that word was thrown around a little bit, the shim. And it was a possibility, but this is the first person who she met before the class started or the workshop started, and she tells her that she doesn't have to chain her bike up, that we're in Iowa. But then her bike goes disappearing. And so I do feel as if, because she's not being well received and liked, that could just be a let's play a trick on Hannah or teach this privileged girl a lesson. Mm-hmm. And so you're right. You know, she could have had her bike stolen by her.
You think they're hazing her?
Possibly.
I could see that.
Or maybe she has a crush on Hannah. She's like, oh, come get your bike back at my place.
I found it, right? After
Honestly,
hours.
I really think, because when you saw, and I didn't catch her name, I apologize everyone out there, but when the girl that Maddie and I were referring to, the female shim girl, boy, with all respect,
the gothy looking
girl, there you go. When she was talking to Hannah, it was a really intense conversation, and Hannah got uncomfortable, but the girl, it was almost, if it was a male in that role, you would think the guy was hitting on her. Or that's what that's how I had to look outside the box. I really feel there was some kind of chemistry, but then the weird part was she kind of sold Hannah out in class a little bit.
Right.
Well, she did say at one point, she's like, okay, I'm going to unlock our stare now. Mm-hmm. Because she found herself very uncomfortable in their conversation. I think that she's definitely sizing her up to a certain degree because, you know, as they call her out in class after the reading, you know, the one girl, she said, I just feel like this story is about, you know, a really privileged girl who allows, you know, someone to abuse her. Mm-hmm. And Hannah comes off as a privileged girl.
Yeah, she does. Because she doesn't have any relatable depth. There's nothing that you can connect with her. And so because she's aloof and she has no sense of people or relationships or the way that she's being received, or if not received at all, you kind of get put to the side because it just becomes all about Hannah. So it lets you know, oh, you were babied. You were told you were special one too many times.
And it's exactly that. It's exactly that. You know, anyone, the way that she comes off by putting a disclaimer in the beginning of her paragraph that she reads off and then going and interrupting beforehand. I mean, look at D. August, who goes and does his story beforehand. I mean, first of all, the comments after he reads his story were hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I mean, first of all, the one person was like, oh, this is the best piece that I've read.
Logan.
Yes. Best piece that I've ever read. And then Goth chick is like, this is gut wrenching, and then Chen Chong, is that his name?
It is last name
Chester Chong.
Chester Chong was like, you know, it was spare and kind, offensive but not offensive, you know. And then the other guy, he's like, I want to cut my arm off just so I can, you know, have you write 3 more pages so I can learn more, you know, so I can hear more. You know, D. August didn't have a disclaimer. It was just it was fiction. It was raw. You know, it was about some kid going back in and coloring a tooth or drawing a tooth afterwards. It was very morbid and different, but...
Confidence. He had confidence.
Yeah. You know, it kept them wanting more, and it had nothing to do with him as a person.
Well, he also came to very confidently Hannah's defense when they were getting on her. He was saying, you know, well, there's nothing wrong with her writing from personal experience as long as, you know, she's pulling something from that character. And they're like, no, it's just like her. But the character, his fiction could have been a realistic experience that he did as well. We don't know where he came from or his background. He could have been writing about his mom and been, you know, defensive for her because of that. But everybody was kissing his ass. So he didn't get any constructive criticism back, where Hannah was, you can tell she was a little bit hating on it too, because she was like, oh, well, I just have an idea that the mom's going to be dead after this anyways. So she was like ready once again, all about Hannah. And that's why the instructor says, well, let's start on you, Hannah.
You brought up a good point. Do you think that that comment that she made, that's why he came to her, that could be one of the reasons he came to her defense? Because she's the only one who actually gave gave honest feedback back. She wasn't kissing his butt. Do you think that could be a reason he maybe has more respect for her than the others?
I think that he realizes that writing is a pledge process, like how you guys were kind of saying, you know, do you think that she's getting pledged in? I think that he realized that she kind of has a long way to go. And I think that it was more sympathy for her and just being the all-around well-liked guy, and that is what Jesus would do, so therefore D. August is going to do this, you know? I don't think that it was being able to relate to her so much as it was, let me do the right thing in this situation and defend the weak.
Well, we see it after they wind up leaving class, he winds up waiting for her, and to say to her, like, look, you know, everyone sat there pretty much criticized her work, and you know, she says she's gonna go back and she's gonna, you know, he invites her out for one, and then she's like, she declines the offer because she's gonna sit and think about all the criticism, and he's like, no, dude, like, what are you talking about? Suck it up, pretty much is what he says to her. He says to her that, you know, you're gonna hear a lot of these throughout, you know, this process, and you're just gonna have to suck it up. There's gonna be a lot of criticism, and Hannah doesn't really take criticism well, and we see that when she's constantly interrupting, and the teacher's like, no, this is not the time for you to get into the middle of this. Like, you need to hear everyone's perspective, and then you can talk. And he goes to her defense, but I think it's, and after he goes to her defense, he waits to meet with her so that way he can say to her, like, look, this is going to happen often, and you're going to have to get used to it, because this is what's going to make you a better writer.
But wasn't this similar to what Marnie experienced last episode with Elijah? This whole get tough, like, you got to get it together. The industry that you're trying to pursue is not going to be fluffy pillows and whipped cream. Like, it's going to be...
not for sissies.
Yeah, it's not for sissies. Like, this is the same speech that Hannah's having to receive now.
I don't know. Do you guys think this is a theme?
Maybe.
It actually very well could be. Toughen the hell up. Like, grow up, girls.
I do have a question this episode, though. I don't know what you guys think, but she didn't talk to Adam at all. And then when she talked to Marnie, I thought that was really odd, because for a second there, I thought, did they break up?
That's
What's
what I
going
thought, too.
on? And
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think because they left it last episode that they don't really have a plan. We saw that. There's no plan to talk. There's no plan to let's you know, why don't we speak every Sunday? Why don't we speak every night at 7 p.m.? Like, there's no plan. And therefore, when Marnie and her were speaking via Skype, she was like, don't tell me about him. Yes, their interaction was weird, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Well, but you also saw, and this is, we'll probably touch on this more later, but when they went to the party and she saw the girl crying, that could be where Hannah came from when she was addressing the girl and telling her to, you know, get your big girl panties on, go out there, go find a man. It's about you. I'm saying this very PC because the conversation was not PC. But maybe that's what she said, because, you know, she mentioned, I think the girl said her boyfriend went to another college out in another city or something.
In Des Moines, Iowa.
Which is super far away in Iowa. I mean, it's, you know, but so maybe that's where Hannah was coming from. You know, my boyfriend's across the country, or ex, or whatever they are, and you got to do what you're going to do because he's going to do what he's going to do.
Right.
And maybe that goes with the theme that you brought up, is maybe it's suck it up and move on.
Right. Oh, yeah, that would be an underlying theme to it, right?
I think that was almost a pep talk to Hannah herself.
Yeah.
Like, she saw in that girl, while she was crying there, a little reflection of herself there, because it's like, whoa. And we saw it, to rewind a little back, we saw it when Hannah was in her big house and the bat came into the house. And prior to the bat coming in the house, she's looking at her phone and she's looking at, you know, those photo booth pictures of her and Adam. We see that she's clearly missing him. You know, she doesn't know when, because there's no plan to communicate.
But just call. I don't understand why she didn't just call. The way that she's FaceTiming Marnie, she can be doing that with Adam.
Girl, I've been in long distance relationships, and I'll ask the same question. Just call. Just call. It's the same.
Games.
It is all a game.
It's games.
The bigger person picks up the phone, and neither of them are in that place. in my opinion.
And then see, that goes towards her immaturity though, because she thinks, you know, she's 25, she's seen life, she's lived, she doesn't know anything, and in the meanwhile she's wondering what he's doing. You know, she's hurting when all she needed to do was reach out and touch him. Just reach out, pick up the phone. So it's disappointing that her and Adam are at this place, because they came so far to finally being together, to now, you know, be retracting all this progress and steps that they made.
It's like you said, like she said last week, Spicy. No plan as like, what did you say?
Right.
No plan?
You have no plan. You plan to fail then, and that's what is happening with them right now, because you said, you know, they don't have a scheduled time to speak. And so with that, you see her just kind of, she's going through life. She's not relaying to him what's going on in her day. So them growing together isn't even going to be an option. When you're not communicating your daily rituals or, you know, what's happening with you, you kind of just fall apart because you don't know or take accountability to one another. She has no idea what's going on with Adam out there.
No, not at all. And that's, I think we'll see a lot of that. And it's unfortunate, but she should be focusing on, you know, the matter at hand, the task at hand, which is, you know, her being in Iowa and her writing. Ultimately.
Well, several times there was characters that were like randomly introduced that invited her out that I was like, oh, well, maybe that's going to be the next Adam, or maybe that's going to be the next Adam. I thought maybe the cashier at the bookstore. I thought the guy walking by who invited her to the playing to like a live band thing that he was doing at the yacht club. Like, there were certain instances where random guys were introduced, and I thought that maybe she was going to have a hookup or something, but it wasn't actually her that hooked up with randoms. It was Elijah. To Elijah.
He butched it up on this show.
He really did.
He came in and was just kind of like, I'm going to prey on these undergrad kids, and found him a little hot guy to scoop up and take upstairs.
Well, I was really happy to see that Elijah came into the picture, because prior to Elijah coming into the picture, we see that she's kind of at a loss. You know, she's at the bar. You know, she gets her bike stolen. She's at the bar with Logan. And that was an interesting conversation between her and Logan, where, you know, Logan is telling her how powerful stories can be regarding her writing, and it dawns on Hannah at that moment that maybe Logan was, you know, had a sexual experience, or maybe that the story rang true, that there was some sort of trigger. Hannah's story triggered Logan in some way. And, you know, what did she say? She goes, this is the information age.
Right. She's like, nothing is TMI anymore. This is the information age. But in that moment, did you really think that was a personal experience that Logan had?
No.
Not at all. I think Hannah just, once again, can't take constructive criticism. So she was trying to apply people getting emotional over her story and not agreeing with it to, oh, well, you must be experiencing that. That's why, you know, that you were so affected by my story. That's why you didn't like it. No, they just thought it sucked.
No, well, her body language, I feel like there is some history with her, because her body language, because she looked so uncomfortable when Hannah confronted her.
So you do think that she was abused?
Because she kept looking back and
she wouldn't look her in the eye.
She got so uncomfortable. That's why I thought.
Well, I mean, but someone like Logan looks like she comes from a conservative family where they don't necessarily talk about sex at the dinner table or at all. So it's kind of a 50-50 kind of thing. It's like, could something have happened to her, or that's just stuff you never talk about? It's very taboo. So it's hard to say.
It could have made her uncomfortable without it being her personal experience.
She looks so uncomfortable, and for her to be able to critique those pieces during class and be open about it, and after a few drinks not be able to explain to Hannah, no, actually this didn't happen to me, or this happened to me. That's the only reason I kind of picked it up. And it's also the Midwest, so people tend to be a little more reserved, and and this is just my opinion, but it came across as her trying to get out of the situation. Like, where, I don't know the guy, I forgot the guy's name.
She did say, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about. She never said, no, that didn't happen to me. So you could be onto something, Tomas. You could.
We want to know what you guys think. Go to iTunes, download us, rate us, tell us what you think. Could Logan have been, I don't know, had a crazy sexual experience? Was she, you know, evading the conversation, the question? We want to know. After, of course, she has this conversation with Logan, she leaves the bar and she finds herself really feeling out of place. So what does she do? She lost her cell phone. She goes and she tries to collect call Shoshana and Jessa, which I didn't even realize you could call a cell phone.
There was a payphone. I thought that was amazing. Yeah. A payphone.
They do exist.
They still exist. They're not an urban legend.
When I see one, I'm like, holy cow.
You want to take a picture next to it?
I do. I did. I took a picture recently of one. I was like, what is this?
I love how Shoshana was like, I don't know what this is. Like, it's Hannah, but she's talking really fast. Like, I don't know what to do. It's like,
they were like, what are all these zeros? It's
have they never seen a collect call? And then Jessa is like, what's going on? Do you want me to pause it? They're watching Scandal in the background. And it happened to be the episode where there was a physical assault on that show. So I thought that was funny that was the background show that they were watching.
Absolutely hilarious. Of course, since Shoshana doesn't know how to answer the call, she rejects it. And so Hannah's now forced to call her parents, which they're just the funniest couple.
Yeah.
I love her parents. They're like cluelessly...
But that's why she's clueless. I blame her parents, and I blame all parents for having clueless kids that are clueless. Like, she is a product of her parents. You can't blame Hannah because look at how her parents treat her. She's talking about suicide, and they're like, oh, we want to get back to our Scrabble game, Hannah.
Well, no, the mom first said, yeah, that's normal. Yeah.
No, but you should say, what's going on? Like, are you thinking about suicide? Like, that didn't even register to them that their daughter is having suicidal thoughts.
She said, no, I totally agree with you. The mom said, oh, that's normal. When I'm on the top of a parking structure, I think I could jump. And then the dad said, yeah, when you're holding a baby, I think I could drop the baby.
She said, no, she did drop Hannah.
Or she dropped
That explains a lot. That explains a lot. But I mean... In all honesty, when Hannah asked that question, did you for a second think, have you thought that too?
What do you mean? What she was experiencing? Have we ever experienced it?
When Hannah asked that question, Mom, have you ever thought about committing suicide to get out of that situation? For a second, I'm like, wow. I think I've had that discussion with people. Not that I've had that thought, but I'm like, that's an honest question to ask someone. Not that you're contemplating it, but...
I mean, everybody's thought about it. Just like everybody's thought about threesomes and eating whatever you want in life. Like, everybody's had those, you think about all those things, but I don't even think that Hannah was serious in her thought process. I think it was just a cry for attention, not a cry for help. It was just Hannah needing attention in that moment. Because I've been under pressure in school, and I've been like, gosh, I could jump from the tallest building right now. But I think hers is so not even serious. She hasn't even started class. This is a workshop, and she's committing suicide because they don't like her one essay.
I'm not saying that she's not.
Do you think that could be her parents just they're ignoring her also? Maybe that would be the reason they're like,
because they know how overdramatic she is.
Absolutely. She's definitely reaching for attention. But what I'm getting at is Lena Dunham is now bringing to the surface of things that people actually contemplate and think about. And she's putting it in her writing. And so here we have this character who's going through this completely life-changing experience and is reaching. She's feeling a little out of control. She doesn't have her friends around.
She's feeling rejection because her classmates not accepting or embracing her and her writing, which is supposed to be a reflection of her. She doesn't feel acceptance.
Absolutely. And she's lost her boyfriend. She doesn't have her friends around. Her parents are clearly playing Scrabble and not paying attention to the conversation. So what does she do? She throws out this whole
suicide.
She does exactly what a Hannah would do.
Right.
Made me really happy that Elijah's there with her, though.
I'm not. So I'm gonna be the anti. I like Elijah's character. Do I think that he needed to follow Hannah to Iowa for this season to work? No, I don't. I think that was kind of this is a way for us to incorporate Elijah into the storyline. So we're going to make it that all of a sudden he's over New York so that he can somehow wind up moving into her ginormous house and helping Hannah cope and get through all of the things. So once again, she's still going to have her crutch there. She's not going to be alone. Yeah, it's codependency. Exactly.
Well, he's definitely a leech, and we've seen that over the years and over the seasons. Regarding his character, we saw it with his Broadway boyfriend. We've seen it with him and Hannah in their relationship before. So it's not surprising that he would just show up at her doorstep in Iowa. And it's actually a perfect opportunity for Hannah to have somebody there. She even though we've seen her evolve, she's not that evolved. So it works out for her to have somebody leeching off of her. She's leeched off of Marty. Now it's time for someone to leech off of her. And Elijah's the perfect person, the perfect distraction. And so, you know, the fact that he like shows up and is like half naked inside of her house is kind of fun and awesome.
I feel like they're gonna end up getting it on.
Again?
Really?
Yeah.
That's your prediction?
Again?
She was looking at him a little too heavy.
No, not while he's like jacking off other people at parties. I don't think
he's got to pay rent.
Can we talk about that
Oh my
comment?
God.
Best comment of the night. I'm not gay. Yeah, me neither, bro.
I love that comment. That was
both
awesome.
of them in the bathroom.
Is
Yeah.
this how all parties go? Every party I go to.
He's definitely going to be the guy that's going to help young boys in college discover their sexuality.
It's gonna be a revolving door at that house.
I just think he's making it a lot easier for her, and it's going to be harder for her to grow when she's able to be dependent on her friend from back home. So I like the concept of her being with these new classmates and being criticized because she needs to grow up. And it was very similar to her first experience at GQ. She's sitting once again at a round table with other people critiquing her work, and she can't handle it.
Well, the funny thing about the GQ thing last season was she was the one that was getting glorified for all of the great ideas versus this is the opposite. When she was at GQ and they're sitting there giving ideas, they were like, the chick with the glass was like, love it, love it, love it. It's the opposite this time. People were like, no, we're not into that. So the tables turned.
It was an environment where she was making new friends. I like that she was making, you know, coworker friends, and I like her being able to make classmate friends. And so if she has, I feel like Elijah there, she's going to run to them and not to the people that might potentially help her grow.
We're dealing also with like, and not that I'm just putting my disclaimer now. We're dealing, you know, New York a little bit more open-minded, Iowa not so much.
True.
You know, and so it's a different environment that she's in, and so they're not going to be as open-minded with her crazy sexual escapades and her writing style. Where in New York, they're like, yeah, that works.
They embrace it more, yeah.
You know, so she's going to have to somehow find that happy medium in her writing style, in her approach. And, you know, when we see her at that party, I like the way she was able to let go. In fact, having Elijah there to help her let go is, I think, what she needed. Maybe it'll help her open up her creativity. I mean, we see her getting wild and giving advice in the bathroom, which how sneaky was that? You know, the girl's crying over her boyfriend being in town or being in Des Moines, Iowa. And, you know, she uses that as a way to cut in line and go to the bathroom before her.
The wording though was amazing because at the same time while she's telling the girl to grow up, get it on, you go find yours, you get your man, and you know you go to bed.
It's time for you to bust a nut.
Elijah's upstairs busting his nut, and I just thought that was hilarious. At the same time, they're both talking about it. One's talking and one's doing. I just thought it was funny.
I do like though that he was a way to let her be more free spirited and let loose. I mean, she was partying, she was turning up. There was a Jello tub, and she's like Jello fighting with someone, and she's drinking. She's pouring out her drink for the homies, like you guys were saying,
pouring it out for the homies.
It was hilarious. She was freaking all night long. Like, no, she was having a good time, and I think that's what she needed. But once again, she was having an undergraduate experience, and she's a graduate now, so she had to, you know, it closes with her walking away with Elijah and saying she wishes she can stay an undergraduate because that's easier. That's when, you know, those were the good old days. That's when you don't have to worry and be responsible, and now she has to be this responsible person.
Well, and I liked how it ended very happy in Pleasantville, and it's just a sign that, you know, a lot of times it doesn't always continue, or most of the time it won't. I just thought it was really interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Well, we're very excited to see what happens in the next episode. But shall we get to a little news and gossip before we predict?
Yeah.
Sure.
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
So, in news, ratings this season are about, I think they said 35 to 40% down than what they expected. Not a lot of people showed up, and considering that they had the analingus scene last week, which they thought more people would show up for that. But last week, they said that Brian Williams sat down to watch the episode.
Wow.
Yes, Daddy watched the episode of his little darling daughter getting her ass eaten out. And when asked, what did you think about the episode, he actually took the diplomatic route and answered, you know, she's an actress and this is her job and this is her trade. No one got hurt, no one got injured, so, you know, that's that.
Oh, good answer.
Yeah, very diplomatic. I'm like, I don't know if I could see my little girl getting her ass eaten out like that. So good for you, Brian Williams. You know, I don't know if I could do it, but It was a very spoken about scene on Monday. That's all we can say. So.
That is pretty funny. I wonder why the ratings are dropping. If you guys had to speculate, what would you say?
You know, they're saying that it could possibly be a lot of the attention that Lena Dunham's been getting, you know, coming out, speaking politically against, you know, not really against, but about, you know, conservative men and conservative women. And so they're saying she's possibly losing that audience. That could be it. There was a big controversy over the summer about her speaking, you know, her new book that she just had come out. There's a lot of speculation about a lot of the political stuff that she's been coming out.
So it's more personal towards maybe to Lena, not so much towards the writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that, you know, in my undergrad, when we had Jell-O shot parties and stuff like that, and people rolling around in Jell-O in between those parties at class, professors would explain that a lot of times you want to keep your opinion's neutral because that can affect.
Sway.
The book is different, but sometimes, you know, who knows, maybe she had a ton of conservative viewers and they love watching this fictional character, but when they see it, you know, speaking out in the news or speaking out in a tabloid or in a blog or something like that, it could turn them off.
Absolutely. She came out over the summer speaking about her relationship with her sister and how they wound up sharing, you know, a room up into a certain point in age, and how they wound up sharing a bed because her sister couldn't sleep. And there was speculation about molestation. And so, you know, she came out saying no, that didn't happen. So there was a lot of controversy. And so that they're saying that could have possibly hurt, you know, her audience. Because, you know, a lot of people that watch the show could be conservative, and even though this is a very realistic show on how it is in the real world, you know, get it together, sweetheart. This is, you know, get it together.
Well, in response to that, a lot of when it comes to people liking you as an actress, they want to like you as a person too. And so if you're not likable as a person anymore in the real world and the reality of it, they may start to dislike your character or the character that you're playing. Yeah. So it could very well be a reflection of that, or it could just be that the writing might not be as good. No, I still love it.
And it's harder for
I still love it.
It's harder for women than it is men. I feel like if a male actor is outspoken about something, I feel it's a lot easier than for a female, because a lot of times women, you guys can be just brutal to each other. No offense, but I mean, I feel like if it was a male, it would be different.
Yeah. That could be it.
Yeah. So shall we get to predictions?
Predictions
it is.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
So, my lovelies, where do we think things will go next? I mean, we saw in the previews that Jessa and Adam get arrested.
Well, they're hanging out.
They are. So, based on Candice's prediction last week, which was there's a feeling that the two will hook up.
I could see that.
They get arrested in the preview. What do we think happened? Why did they get arrested? What's your guess?
My guess is Jessa probably got picked up off the street for doing something, and Adam's going to come to her defense, and he's going to be the one that's getting thrown in jail also, and maybe it's going to really kind of screw up his acting job or something. I don't know.
I can see that, but I feel like I feel like Marnie's going to find out about it, report it back to Hannah, and Hannah's going to be like, oh no, Jessa and Adam, and take it very personal that they're hanging out together without her, because she does know how sexual and free-spirited Jessa is.
I feel like Jessa was probably selling pot or something, and that's what she got picked up for, because it looked something odd like that. It was something that's not, she wasn't breaking the law in a huge way, but she was still breaking the law on the cops. That's why they were, you know, arresting her, and he probably came to her defense, like you said. And
I don't know. I'm feeling like what's that Django Unchained actress? Kind of a sexual inappropriate in public situation.
Oh, you think they were doing something?
I think they were doing something in public. They got a ticket for it, and you know, because she ripped it up.
I could see her doing that, actually.
So a little too much PDA TMI in public, and that's what's going to trigger Hannah to freak out.
I would love to see Hannah start dating August. I think that he could make her grow up a little bit, and I think that would be a pretty cool thing to show an interracial couple on the show.
She did before.
Well, I'm talking about for herself though with him. Who did she have an interracial relationship with before?
She was dating the one guy in season 1?
Oh,
Yes,
wait,
you're
who?
right. Brief though.
It was like brief, yeah. But I think that because he's more obviously, or he's more well received, but I think he's also more mature in his writing. I think he could help her out a lot. So I think that would be cool if maybe he feels sorry for her and then he starts coming around more and they start dating. Because he's almost the opposite of Adam. I feel like he's more, he knows himself better.
That might be too mature of a relationship for her, though.
I could see that happening, and when they in class, for some reason I picked that up because they tend to focus on him a lot during that class session out of everybody else.
Yeah,
so
he's definitely going to be a repeat character.
Yeah.
I see that.
So, of mature relationships and not coming to terms of the fact that it's not a mature relationship, Desi and Marnie, she's not accepting the fact that she's the mistress and it is an affair.
Marnie really thinks that she can take Clementine's boyfriend. Like, she really has it in her mind that he's going to come to the light, see how amazing that she is, and choose her. But that's what every mistress thinks, and that's why they stay on the sidelines and don't get chosen at the end, because it's cheaper to keep her. So you're not going to leave your main boo for the side chick. You're just not going to do that.
I mean, come
When
on.
the thrill's gone too. When you're done, your thrill's gone. So then you move on to something. That's what they do. They move on to something else.
Right. Like 1 out of 10, mistresses get chosen to really settle down and buckle down with.
I mean, come on. She is knitting him a scarf, and for all we know, she's putting like pockets of her hair in the weaves of the scarf.
She's knitted him a scarf so she could be with him at all times.
All the time.
What I don't understand is she already knows that
Creepy.
she has daddy issues. Like, she needs to get therapy for that, because she's really thirsty and acting out, and she is chasing after
Thirsty,
men
I like that.
for this self-love and needing of approval, because she's not giving her self-love, so she's trying to get it from other people, and that's not going to happen. They're not going to love her, so she needs to love herself before she can start dating, period. She needs to take a chill pill, because she's always throwing herself at somebody.
We all drank to that, by the way.
Cheers.
We all drank to that.
I think that Elijah...
Marnie drives me nuts. Sorry.
I have a prediction on Elijah. I feel like he's going to move in. It's going to start out well, and they're going to start having problems. I also think that it's going to be a revolving door of sorts, and he's going to have people in and out, and then there's going to be some kind of mess happen. I don't know if there's like a backlash from conservatives or something.
Like semen all over the sheets kind of mess, or what do you mean?
That will probably happen many times, but some kind of and because he talks about how accepting people are, and remember, it's the Midwest, people are nice. They're nice, but they're not always accepting. So I feel like there's going to be...
And his ex was really mean to him too, so he probably needs kindness right now.
Something's going to happen there, and then I feel the girl that with the strong jawline, I feel like she's going to intertwine more in his and her life as well.
So you think that she may possibly turn Hannah out, like maybe lesbian experiences?
I don't know. There's going to be something weird with that. I just have it was too intense of a connection, but I see her ultimately dating the guy D'August. D'Angelo.
D'August.
I think that Elijah being in the house is a good thing, and if there is a revolving door, I think that one, it'll bring more parties into the house, so it's a good thing that she has a house. 2, it may bring out the creativity in Hannah to write more interesting stories, because she'll have more in front of her. I think that Elijah will bring out the social aspect of Hannah that she's longing for in Iowa, that she's not going to get by herself, because people hate her.
You brought me
She's
up.
not likable.
They hate her in Iowa. Let's just get that right.
One more prediction. I have a feeling she's going to, because Hannah's lazy, her character is a very lazy person, she's going to switch from writing about herself to Elijah's experiences.
Yes.
And then it's going to come out, and people are going to know, and he's going to be really upset.
That's awesome. I love that.
that idea.
Okay.
I am digging these predictions.
Snaps for you, Tom. Snaps.
Yes. We want to know what you guys think. Go to iTunes, download us, rate us, make comments. Let us know what you think. Where can they find you guys on Twitter?
At Thomas Guide, TOMASGUIDE.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, Candy Buen, CandiBuen.
And you guys can play with my Twitter at spicy_Mari, or stroke my Instagram at spicy_Mari.
You can follow us on AfterBuzzTV.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at AfterBuzzTV. You can also follow me, Miriam L. Gonzalez, on Twitter. We will see you guys next Sunday here for Season 4, Episode 3 of Girls. Until next week, have a great rest of your day, night, Sunday. Cheers.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AFTERBUZZTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AFTERBUZZ TV or its owners or principals.